Welcome back, AAHOA. Great to see you again. We are here to address today point number 11 of the 12 points of fair franchising. And before I dive deep into point number 11, let me strongly encourage you to go back and watch series numbers 1 through 10 so you can take advantage of the educational opportunities that we are providing to you with respect to the 12 points of fair franchising. As we have stated several times, these are designed for your education so that you can review the 12 points of fair franchising. You can ask specific questions of any attorney that you might be working with, as well as of the franchisor and the franchisor sales representatives, so that you get a better understanding of what is in your franchise agreement and how this impacts your relationship with your franchisor. Before I dive into this, though, I would like to just encourage you again, if you have not already done so, pick up a 12 points pin. Let's all wear them together to show our support for the educational offerings that AAHOA is providing to its members so that we can stand strong on the 12 points of fair franchising. And as I've often said, it's in this battle to go from victory to victory for fair franchising in the industry. So with that background, let's take a look at the specific provisions of point number 11. And point number 11 addresses transferability. And what do I mean by transferability? Well, this is a situation in which you as a franchisee might seek to transfer your property and the franchise agreement to a related third party, unrelated or related third party. And in that circumstance, what our point number 11 recommends is that the franchisor should not, number one, should not delay it. Number two, should not withhold its consent. And number three, should not impose conditions on the transfer in an unreasonable, arbitrary, or capricious manner. In general, there should be no higher than a $1,500 transfer fee, which would cover the administrative costs for the franchisor to process the requested transfer. Second, upon submission by the franchisee to transfer the franchise, the franchisor shall provide in writing the franchisor's then existing standards for the approval of the new or the renewal of the franchisee. And in other words, there should not be brand new standards for any transfer. Also, the franchisor, after receiving the application, should, within a reasonable amount of time, either approve it or disapprove it, but do so in writing, especially if it's a disapproval, so the franchisee can better understand the reasons for this decision. Next, there should also be no transfer fees for a franchisee's buyout of other shareholders of the franchise or the addition of shareholders or partners who will have an interest in the facility. Next, we will also recommend in point number 11 that in the event of a requested transfer, franchisors should not condition the transfer on an extensive renovation requirement, because that is also not fair to the transferee or to the person taking over the property. It should be limited to only those specific items that were in the prior QA inspection reports, because it is technically still under the original franchise agreement. To the extent, further, that a franchisor approves a requested transfer, this point number 11 states that the franchisor should not be required to pay liquidated damages from the prior franchisee or seek any increased fees from the new franchisee owner of the subject facility. Again, because the franchisee sought to transfer its facility prior to the scheduled termination date of its franchise agreement. And then finally, under this point number 11, within 10 days of the completion of an approved transfer, the franchisor should release the franchisee and provide a written release letter so that the current franchisee no longer has any obligations after the transfer is completed. So these are some very important points with respect to any transfer that you are looking at of your facility and the franchise agreement. Now, to assist you, we have the 12 points questionnaire, and if you want to look at it carefully, it provides the specific questions that you can ask your franchisor about these requirements, especially if you plan at some point there might be a transfer of your facility and the franchise agreement. First question to your franchisor would be, are your transfer fees fair and reasonable, i.e. generally no more than $1,500 and based solely on the estimated administrative costs to process the transfer? Question number 2, if you disapprove a transfer, do you provide a written statement outlining the reasons for the disapproval? And number 3, do you waive all fees for a franchisee's transfer to a spouse, child, parent, sibling, niece, nephew, descendant, spouse's descendants, or other family members if the transferee is legally competent to assume the franchisee's obligation under the franchise agreement? Very important question to find out if you have any plans to transfer the property and the franchise agreement to a family member. Let's also hear from some additional experts on this concept of transfer and why these provisions are so important in our 12 points of fair franchising.
When it comes to transferability, we want to make sure that liquidated damages are not outrageous. We want to make sure that the franchisor and the franchisee are able to speak with one another in regards to that, and to come up with a mutual understanding and agreement to move forward.
Transfers are in essence an administrative task, and so as such, we believe transfer fees really should be viewed as such, administrative costs, and they should be fair and reasonable. The beauty of our business is it's a family business, and so transfers to direct family members, think spouses, parents, children, should happen without fee, assuming that there's legal competence involved with the transfer.
I hope AAHOA members take away from 12 Points of Fair Franchising in the sense that it's a guiding tool, it's a primer. If you need a guidance when talking to brands, take the 12 points out, look over them. It's on the website, and start looking at, hey, this is how this is what I should expect. This is what I should ask for when I'm on the negotiation table with a brand.
Let's face it, point 11 applies to everyone. Nobody owns a hotel forever. So if you're a franchisee, make sure that you understand the franchise agreement. Make sure that you understand what steps you have to take, what information will have to be provided. Because in working with your franchisor, it will be paramount that you provide the right kind of information to help expedite the process, whether it's a transfer or any of the other items covered in point 11. And if you're a franchisor, it's critical to have contracts that accurately represent the current state of ownership. And so it behooves all franchisors to make it as easy and efficient as possible for those updates to take place.
Thank you, AAHOA. That wraps up point number 11. And as stated before, if you have not already had an opportunity to review the prior point 1 through 10 series, please do so that you are fully up to speed on all of the education that we are providing on these important 12 points of fair franchising. We look forward to seeing you next time for point number 12 as we continue to seek victory after victory for the battle of fair franchising. Thank you, and see you next time.